This is a world of supernatural and supernatural phenomena, characterized by the collapse of ritual and music. There are strange people and ghosts here, green corpse demons and immortals, G people, grass horses, and evil correction gods. This path involves using corpses to practice qi, using lead and mercury to distinguish yellow, using shamans to subdue spirits, and using paper figures and armored horses. Lu Qian, carrying a mysterious golden mirror to enhance his proficiency, stumbled into a secluded path and embarked on a journey of seeking immortality. A true Taoist who is both righteous and evil, and also crazy to the level of a real person. Keywords of the novel. No pop-up window for side Taoist priests in the supernatural world, complete collection download for side Taoist priests in the supernatural world, latest chapters for side Taoist priests in the supernatural world. Chapter 1. Daotong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Daotong. The mountain mist is vast and the green mountains are faintly visible. Thin clouds and mist envelop the peaks, making the mountains peaceful and tranquil on rainy days after autumn. Peak, cliff edge. An old man in white sat cross-legged on a cattail, with rosy hair and a vigorous spirit. He looked at him not like an ordinary person, but like a banished immortal from the sky. A young Taoist in green stood beside him. Daotong has red lips and white teeth, and his facial features are upright. Although he is not handsome, he can still be called dignified. Adolescent in appearance, about 16 or 17 years old. The Taoist named Lu Qian is the child of this old immortal Mo Liang. Mo Liang, a well-known old immortal with a radius of hundreds of miles, was highly respected by high-ranking officials and nobles. He gathered everyone's strength to build a Taoist temple on the mountain for his cultivation. The people at the foot of the mountain admire its name and strive to send someone to serve it first. Lu Qian's parents passed away since childhood, and he intended to try his luck, but he was actually selected. Who? At this moment, the old immortal exhaled a breath of white air and woke up after finishing his work. The old immortal stroked his 1-foot-long beard and looked at Lu Qian with a kind expression, saying, "Take the elixir, I want to take it." Xian Dan. What elixir? Lu Qian was confused. When did the old immortal give the elixir? So he cautiously said, "Old immortal, young man is foolish. Where is the elixir placed?" Immortal elixir. Mo Daosher smiled slightly, his smile growing larger and more eerie. Suddenly, Mo Liang's skin cracked open, revealing the indigo flesh inside. Cha! The human skin peeled off, and in front of the eyes was a blue skin knife fork that was 8 feet tall, covered in indigo, with a blue face and fangs, and 2 peaks on top of its head. Yeka's right paw protruded, and the sharp fingertips of a dagger quickly cut open Lu Qian's chest. This is the elixir of immortality. Jia jia jia. Ah! At this moment, Lu Qian felt the pain and covered his chest, unable to believe the monster in front of him. Then my eyes darkened. Wow! On the bed, a man suddenly sat up. Sweating profusely and trembling. Lu Qian looked around. The night is bright and deep, and the moonlight pours down like silver gauze on the ground. It turned out to be a dream. Lu Qian breathed a sigh of relief, but his eyes did not relax at all. Thinking day and dreaming night, it is precisely the discovery of clues that leads to such dreams. He is indeed the Taoist child of immortal Mo, who has been on the mountain for half a year. The Taoist temple is not just a child. More than 10 boys, and more than 100 servants and guards. In the first month of entering, I mainly do some miscellaneous work, such as carrying water and chopping firewood. Afterwards, Mo Liang will teach everyone a set of meditation techniques. If you cultivate a sense of qi, then you will be recommended by Mo Liang to practice on a higher platform. It's like taking a step to the sky. Everyone wants to become a Taoist respected by everyone and enjoy glory, wealth, and prosperity. Lu Qian himself also thinks the same way. Or rather, his purpose was originally so. A few years ago, I awakened my previous life Su Hui and planned for a long time before getting the opportunity to enter. Unexpectedly, this person is a demon path. Lu Qian sighed deeply. His soul is an extraterrestrial person, also known as a traveler. A few days ago, I went to the back mountain to chop firewood and accidentally discovered the senior's clothes and some personal items. These seniors started several months earlier than Lu Qian, and one of them lived in the same room as Lu Qian. These people have all developed a sense of qi through cultivation. According to Mo Yang's promise, they will be sent to the Immortal Gate to obtain further cultivation techniques. Why did they find their personal belongings in the barren mountains? And these people have left and never appeared again. With doubts in mind, combined with Mo Yang's usual abnormal actions, Lu Qian was horrified to find that these people were likely killed. I don't know why I was killed, anyway, a few people are definitely not alive. This mountain is not a place for Taoist immortals to practice, but an evil place where dirt and grime are hidden. I want to run, but the only exit on the mountain is guarded by guards. Moreover, most of the area below the mountain is the territory of Morian's followers. Mo Yang can eat both black and white. As an ordinary person, he may not be able to compete with them. Dong dong dong, Lu Qian, what happened? A man's call came from outside the door. It's okay, I just had a nightmare, Lu Qian quickly said. Just have nothing to do, rest well. The sound of footsteps gradually faded away. Lu Qian sat up, his eyes closed 7 times, and his tongue pressed against the upper palate. My mind gradually calmed down. In no time, there was a surge of heat in the lower abdomen, and the whole body was warm, as if soaking in a hot spring. This is the qi sensation cultivated by Mo Yang's nameless mind technique. He is so worried because he has developed a sense of qi through cultivation. A few days ago, if I hadn't discovered this matter, I would have been delighted to report it to Mo Yang, and I wouldn't even know how to die by then. After exercising his skills, Lu Qian took a deep breath. There are still 10 days left, and there will be an assessment in 10 days. I hope we can get by then. At the end of each month, Mo Yang gathered everyone together to provide guidance. At that time, it is inevitable that the contents will be exposed. Lu Qian opened the window and took a breath. Dark clouds are like ink, and the stars are dim. Boom! A lightning bolt flashed across the sky, illuminating the earth with a pale glow. A strong wind suddenly rose and poured pouring rain. In the dark corners, there seemed to be cold gazes staring at him. The next day, the rooster crowed. At this moment, Lu Qian regained his senses. Wash up a bit and open the door to walk towards the central mansion. Every morning, I have to go and greet Mo Yang. There are some Taoist children wearing green clothes like Lu Qian in the same group. These people walked together in 2s and 3s, greeting each other, but no one paid attention to Lu Qian, as if isolated. At this point, the crowd separated. A lively and agile woman dressed in fiery red hunting attire walked towards the crowd of several maids. The woman is about 15 or 16 years old, waving a whip in her hand with a loud snap sound. Have you seen Mississippi? Everyone lowered their heads slightly and saluted. Get away. The woman spoke impatiently, her eyebrows raised, and she casually whipped someone next to her in the face. The person's face suddenly showed a bloodstain and a high swelling. Even so, he dared not shout and instead accompanied his smiling face, saying, Miss Yeah, thank you. Dog servant. The woman left uninteresting. The Taoist children around gave way one after another, fearing to provoke this little ancestor. This woman is Mo Linger, the only granddaughter of Mo Yang. Mo Linger is deeply favored by Mo Yang, and has been unruly and capricious since childhood. She is even more prone to beating and scolding others. Speaking of which, there is a causal relationship between Lu Qian and this guy. Lu Qian is a quiet and reserved person, and the behavior of modern people is out of place with the surrounding Taoists. I guess he was framed and hit in the back of the head by this little girl. I almost died. Afterwards, Mo Linger did not receive any punishment. I used to think it was a child playing around, not knowing the importance, but now it seems that the upper beam is not straight and the lower beam is crooked. The old man is not a good person, and the granddaughter is young and has a cruel heart. Lu Qian harbored resentment in his heart. However, being isolated by others is also a good thing, leaving a clean slate without worrying about revealing secrets. Practice all day long, quiet and comfortable. Everyone entered the hall, with an old man sitting in the main seat with squinting eyes. Hair and beard are all white, and skin is as white as paper. Perhaps it was a preconceived relationship, as Mo Liang did not have the immortal airway bone in his dream. Instead, he was as cold as a venomous snake, eager to choose someone to devour. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Golden Mirror. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Golden Mirror, Say Goodbye to Taoist. Say Goodbye to Taoist. Mo Linger stood beside Mo Liang, and everyone went up one by one to pay homage. The cultivation progress is good, keep it up. Alright, once you sense the fetal rhythm, I will immediately recommend you to the immortal sect by repairing a book. Mo Liang wore a kind smile on his face, occasionally giving a few pointers, praising people who practice quickly, and drawing various pancakes. The person praised is flattered and excited. Lu Qian couldn't help but sneer in his heart. There is no immortal sect at all, it's just a big cake drawn by the old man. Waiting for their ending is becoming a dead bone. Of course, Lu Qian will not remind them. These people are like a group of tamed slaves, even if they see the truth with their own eyes, they will find a reason to deceive themselves. Soon, it's Lu Qian's turn. Farewell to Taoist. Lu Qian bowed and bowed. What progress has been made in cultivation recently? Have you broken through the fetal rhythm? Mo Liang stroked his beard and squinted his eyes slightly. In the nameless mind technique, the induction of qi sensation is called fetal breath. Hui Dao Chang, not yet. At this moment, Mo Liang stood up and reached out to Lu Qian's shoulder. It's over. Why check now? Lu Qian's heart was trembling with excitement, his pupils furrowed, and he tried to control his expression, afraid to show any signs when guiding others. Mo Liang would place his hands on his shoulders, infuse true qi, and circulate his meridians. The practitioner has a clear understanding of all the situations and cannot hide anything from him. What should I do if I feel angry later? Lu Qian's mind spun wildly. Leaving aside being discovered, just deceiving this matter would be enough for a pot. Why don't you just pretend to be foolish and act like you're on the verge of breaking through? This is useless, it's just a difference between early death and late death. Mo Liang clapped his hands, but there was no heat as he had imagined, and then stood up and walked away. You look tired, you should have gone back to rest. Thinking of this, Lu Qian breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that I have overthought it. The group left, and Lu Qian was chopping firewood on the mountain with a knife. This mountain is called Green Mountain. It is named because it is located by the lake and is plagued by persistent green and miasma throughout the year. Mo Liang spent some effort clearing the miasma on the mountain before he could live there. Even so, the jungle below the mountainside is still surrounded by miasma, like the green skin yiksha patrolling the mountains and forests of hell. There is only one way out of the mountain. If you run down the mountain recklessly, you are likely to be poisoned to death by miasma. Lu Qian was chopping firewood while pondering countermeasures. Unconsciously, they arrived at the forest where the relics were discovered. The ground is damp, with thick piles of decaying leaves mixed with animal carcasses and feces, and the smell is extremely unpleasant. Stepping on it makes a creaking sound, and it is estimated that the fallen leaves are 3 feet thick. If you don't walk quickly, you may sink in. Under the tree roots ahead, there are several pieces of clothing piled up. This is the location where Lu Qian discovered the relics of his senior. Ha! Lu Qian glanced and noticed a patch on one of his green clothes, which bulged slightly, as if it contained something inside. Unzip the needle and thread, and write a few lines of small characters on a thumb-sized piece wrapped in oil paper. Huangqi Dengue Ichi Bushu San. Benefiting tangible blood and generating intangible qi. It is advisable to take it orally, with the tongue against the upper palate, and it can be swallowed after knocking on the teeth for 30.6 times. This is actually a medicine that nourishes blood and qi. The fetal breath state is to refine and transform qi, refine the body's qi and blood, and form a sense of qi. The next step is to transport the zhou tian and strengthen the internal qi. This painting should be used to replenish qi and blood, and promote the transportation of medicines from the heavens. Lu Qian has only just sensed his qi and has not yet formed the zhou tian. Even so, the strength is much greater than before. If taking this powder, the internal qi will circulate throughout the day. Isn't it that the chances of escaping have increased again? The night is deep. Lu Qian sat cross-legged, his eyes seemingly closed but not closed. Open the oil paper bag and swallow the black powder. A bitter taste exploded in the mouth. Suppressing the urge to vomit, count out 30.6 times and swallow. Boom! A stream of heat passed through the throat, spreading to all four limbs and sweating profusely. Lu Qian guided the internal qi to start from the lower dantian, pass through the perineum, pass along the Du meridian to the three levels of Wei Lu, Jia Ji, and Yuzhen, reach the mud ball on the head, and reach the tip of the tongue. Connect with Renmai and return to Dantian. Complete the journey on a Sunday at noon. The heat flow in Xiaodanshan is several times stronger than before. Lu Qian opened his eyes, and the brilliance in his eyes flashed away. The world before me seems to have changed. The line of sight easily captures ants in the soil outside the window and birds in the air. The strength seemed to have increased by a few points. The nameless mind technique only has the realm of fetal breath. I don't know if Mo Liang has it, but of course, this guy definitely doesn't know how to teach himself. Lu Qian once again meditated and practiced the technique. Boom! At this moment, an explosion echoed in Lu Qian's mind. My eyes turned white, and a burst of light made me dare not open them. This is. A large round and golden disc appeared in Lu Qian's mind, resembling a golden mirror. The Jinjian Tongti is made of gold, with mysterious runes and shining divine light. There seem to be 2 lines of small characters on it. Nameless Mind Technique, Beginner. March 10th, Ghost Origami Technique, Beginner. 0/10, after each line of small text, there is a black circle with several black scales on top. The scale behind the Nameless Mind Technique lit up for 3/4, and the pitch black circle was dyed with 1/3 of gold. This is. Lu Qian was surprised. Based on years of experience, the pitch black circle seemed to be some kind of progress bar, and the scale on it must be progress. What drives this progress bar? Will it break through when the progress bar is full? The ghost origami technique seems to be something passed down from my grandfather. What surprised him even more was the ghost origami technique behind it. He remembered. In his past life memories, Lu Qian was sorting out his grandfather's belongings in his hometown. Accidentally, he flipped over a golden mirror and a piece of paper with the ghost origami technique written on it. Suddenly, the mirror shone brightly, and by the time I woke up, I had already arrived in a different world. Is the story my father told true? Muttered Lu Qian to himself. Grandpa Lu Qian lived for 100 years and only gave birth at the age of 60. Running a paper tie shop, selling various funeral paper ties. Legend has it that when he was young, he was a prominent figure, and the paper figures he personally folded could even come to life, spreading beans and becoming soldiers, possessing the power of ghosts and gods. Of course, Lu Qian came to listen as a fantasy story. However, upon closer reflection, Grandpa may really have something. When I was a child, people often visited the entrance of the paper binding shop by taking luxury cars. These people didn't buy paper figurines and came specifically to visit their grandfather, but they were all driven away. Since there is a scale, there must be a way to improve. Heaven also helps me, there is help. Lu Qian's eyes flashed with a hint of warmth, and his palms were sweating faintly. This family's origami technique is really impressive. Before the assessment in 10 days, there is no need to worry about being harmed. The top priority is to figure out the method for advancing the pitch black circle scale. The scale of the nameless mind technique has lit up 3 squares. Looking back, I only used my luck skills and took a pair of drugs during that time. Is it related to exercise or medicine? Thinking of this, Lu Qian quickly crossed his legs, his internal energy circulating throughout the sky. Half an hour later, Zhou Tian finished his journey. In the sea of consciousness, a pitch-black circle shone with golden light, and a scale lit up slightly. Nameless Mind Technique, Beginner. April 10th, end of this chapter. Chapter 3. Ghost Origami. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Ghost Origami, indeed effective, Lu Qian exclaimed in surprise. By reaching full scale and converting the pitch-black ring into a gold ring, you should be able to break through. So, Lu Qian once again applied his skills. 5/10 the body is filled with true energy, and the whole body is full of strength. The original hair-sized true energy has become the thickness of a chopstick. When he was practicing martial arts again, Lu Qian's eyes turned black, and a desire to vomit surged up, almost fainting. Refining essence and transforming qi involves refining qi and blood. Excessive use of energy can actually damage the vital energy. Generally, exercise is divided into 3 sessions. Morning, evening, and afternoon. From half an hour to 1 hour each time. If taking medication to supplement qi and blood, the number of exercises may increase. The way of heaven rewards diligence, and with hard work comes harvest. This golden disc is truly a divine artifact, sighed Lu Qian. Ordinary people's cultivation is hindered by their aptitude, intelligence, and environment. Even though I practice hard day by day, I can still score 2 or 3 points with very strong force. Those who achieve twice the result with half the effort are already exceptionally talented. Once slack off in the future, it may even decline. Learning is like sailing against the current, if you don't advance, you will retreat. And this disc can allow one to reap every penny they sow. What a divine thing! After practicing the nameless mind technique, the next step is the in-soul origami technique. Spirit converges on origami, and a piece of information appears in the mind. At night. The candlelight flickered in the room, and the light and shadow shone on the ground. The face was uncertain. This book was obtained by the sergeant, who drove the clouds up. If a sergeant obtains it, the ghost is afraid of being startled by the gods. The corporal obtained it and established a stable country. Those who receive books should be cautious and confidential, and should not neglect them. Of course, this spell is not as magical. This sentence is mostly a private item carried by the writer, praising and elevating oneself. Next is the content of spells. Before practicing this magic, it is necessary to open the altar and pray. These days, I have secretly brought out some materials. A dark and damp forest. At this noon, the sunlight cannot penetrate the dense forest, and it is as dark as night. Under the tree, there is a large earthen mound 3 feet wide, on which water vessels, hemp thread, scissors, and bamboo strips are placed. 2 large red candles were lit on both sides, and a wooden plate was filled with dates, peanuts, tea, wine, and so on. Melons and fruits are meant for the spirits of the underworld to enjoy. Paper figures are originally dead objects, only in spirits can bestow divine meaning. In front of the altar stood a paper figure 3 feet high, with bamboo as the bone and white paper as the skin, dressed in a blue long shirt, an indigo-patterned hat, holding a paper knife, with rosy rouge on his cheeks, and no painted eyes. Lu Qian stood in front of the altar, pinching the seal in his hand, stepping on Yubu, reciting words in his mouth. Hu! A gust of gloomy wind brushed past, and the branches rustled. The candle flickered violently, turning into a dismal green. The temperature around seems to have dropped by more than 10 degrees. The atmosphere was eerie, as if there were ghosts feasting on the altar. The 4 immortals and 5 gods of the 4 directions, the golden pill, can prolong one's age. The Supreme Court has personally instructed and passed on the teachings to help the Tao escape the true form. The disciples swear to accept the immortal method, turn misfortune into good fortune, and avoid swords and soldiers. Edict. Lu Qian used a firewood knife to cut through his middle finger. Squeeze out a drop of blood from your heart, add it to the ink, mix it with cinnabar, dip it in with a brush, and point out 2 pupils in the eyes of the spirit child paper figure. Wow! The true qi in the body instantly decreased by half. The circle behind the ghost origami technique in my mind lit up a grid. The spirit child paper figure swayed slightly, with red eyes shining. The originally rough limbs became detailed, the joints were soft, and the 5 fingers were distinct. Click, click. The paper man stood up in the dim night. Suddenly, a person appeared wearing an indigo shroud, with a face as white as paper and cheeks as red as blood. The timid person had to be scared to death. Lu Qian was fearless because it was his own paper figure. Hooking. A wild boar emerged from the bushes. Good time, kill. Lu Qian pointed to the wild boar. The spirit child paper figure stepped out with his right foot, swayed slightly, and appeared 3 meters away. Between 2 or 3 shakes, he came behind the wild boar. Hands up and knives down. Shoo! The wild boar's neck was cut open, blood spurted out, and it fell to the ground with a mournful cry. Although the spirit child is 3 feet tall, his strength is good, his speed is extremely fast, and he is without a trace. This is the result of practicing the ghost origami technique. Open the altar and pray to the ghosts in the underworld. This opening is equivalent to filing a record, so there is no need to reopen it next time. Half an hour later, the paper figure of the spirit child had dilated pupils and spontaneously ignited without fire. Can we only persist for half an hour? Lu Qian secretly instructed. The true qi in the body can only support a 3-foot-tall paper figure for about half an hour. If you want to become a taller paper man, you must first improve your spell proficiency and cultivate internal skills. The proficiency level of Nameless Mind technique is already 50%, and the origami technique is only 10%. There are still 7 days left for the assessment period. Before this, one must practice stronger martial arts in order to have the confidence to descend the mountain. 7 days is definitely enough time. 6 days later, in the forest. A man in green clothes sat cross-legged under a tree, with clear eyebrows and beautiful eyes, a rosy face, and eyes that seemed to be slightly closed. Beside him stood a paper man general who was 7 feet tall, dressed in gold armor, wielding a long sword, and wearing a beast helmet. Although it is a paper figure, it has a majestic appearance, like a guardian deity. For a long time, Lu Qian opened his eyes, his essence flickered, and his pupils shone like obsidian ha. White air is like an arrow, spewing out from the mouth and nose. Lu Qian explored the information on the golden disc in his mind. Nameless Mind Technique, Shaoqing. 16 out of 100, Ghost Origami Technique, Shaoqing. 10 out of 100, the Nameless Mind Technique has broken through, and the true qi is about the size of a little finger. Nowadays, Lu Qian's physical fitness far exceeds that of the past. He stands more than 10 feet tall in place, with strength comparable to that of a tiger or a leopard. These days, more than 10 paper figures have been folded, breaking through to the realm of Xiaocheng and driving the 7-foot paper figure. Paper manpower is as big as an ox, as fast as a leopard, fearless of swords and weapons. The disadvantage is being afraid of fire and water. After breaking through now, there is still a slight effect of confusing the mind. Now you can go down the mountain. Lu Qian's gaze was sharp, and the killing intent was faintly visible. As the saying goes, having a sharp weapon in one's heart can kill the heart. Now that our strength has become stronger, we don't want to leave in disappointment. What can we do down the mountain? Carrying exotic treasures, yet unable to enter the immortal sect. Throughout history, many high-ranking officials and nobles have been unable to find immortals, and the fate of immortals is not something that can be easily obtained. Is it like Grandpa, relying on the art of paper figures for a lifetime? Xianyuan was within reach, and Lu Qian didn't want to put his treasure above the adventure after descending the mountain. Mo Liang must have the next step of cultivation methods on his body. If we kill Mo Liang. A thought rose in Lu Qian's heart, burning like fire as the thought grew stronger. On that day, Mo Liang patted his shoulder and Lu Qian accidentally caught a glimpse of his fair skin that looked somewhat unusual. It's like applying a layer of lead powder. Moreover, the peculiar fragrance on the body contains a slight and imperceptible putrid odor. Mo Liang is very old, so applying powder is probably to cover up the old age spots, and the fragrance on his body is to cover up the decay. This plan is feasible. Lu Qian felt bitter in his heart. All right. Dog servant. You're hiding here. A coquettish cry echoed like a bolt from the clear sky. Lu Qian felt like a cat stepping on its tail, with a surge of sweat and a sense of extreme danger in his heart. Although the seedlings are small, experts can collect them in advance. This book is about to be signed, seeking investment recommendations. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Murder. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Murder. Suddenly there was a cry, and Lu Qian's hair stood on end. Once this secret in the heart is discovered by outsiders, there will be no place to bury it. After all, Lu Qian is just a novice. He looked back. I saw a young girl dressed in fiery red clothes, holding a long whip in her hand, and a 3-foot green sword between her waist and hips, staring closely at him. 2 men with suspicious looks and eyes followed by me. The young girl is the cruel and unruly Mo Linger, with Lu Qian's neighbors on both sides. Sneaking, did you steal something? Mo Linger asked in a questioning tone. Mo Linger herself is a naturally unconventional and extremely playful person. In recent days, Lu Qian has been living in seclusion, although hidden, for a long time. It is inevitable that someone with intentions will find out. After hearing someone report, Mo Linger excitedly brought someone over. A while ago, Mo Linger hit Lu Qian's head with a stone. Mo Liang did not punish, he just verbally said it. Mo Linger still harbors resentment, and once she gets the handle, she will have to kill this lowly slave. The 2 people next to each other gloated over their misfortunes. Lu Qian usually works alone and never flatters anyone. It seems that this self-righteous person is displeased. So I specifically told Mo Linger that I didn't expect to really seize the opportunity. I'm not stealing when I go up the mountain to chop firewood, Mississippi. I misunderstood. Lu Qian smiled, but he turned his hand behind his back and secretly pinched his fingertips. Ha! What is this? Take it over, you two. Dog servant, don't move. Seeing the paper figure next to her, Mo Linger's eyes lit up as if she had seen a new toy. Yes, miss. The 2 of them stumbled forward and passed by Lu Qian, giving him a proud glance. Mr. Lu, you're doomed. Lu Qian was out of place with the people around him, interacting alone and speaking less rudely than others, hence he was jokingly referred to as the gentleman. Is that right? Lu Qian's flat voice rang in his ear. The 2 of them instinctively glanced and saw that Lu Qian's eyes were calm, and the next second he burst out with lightning. Guan. Kill. In ghost origami, paper is referred to as a spiritual official. Click. In their eyes, the golden armored paper man flashed with a golden light and came to life. 100 refined sword dances in the wind, shining like water. Wow! The two of them felt a chill in their necks, looked down, and saw blood flowing incessantly, staining their clothes red. You! One person covered their neck, unable to believe it. Pop! The body fell to the ground. Dog servant, you secretly practice martial arts. Grandpa won't let you go. Qian launched a violent attack and killed 2 people, hiding his strength. Mo Linger's small face turned pale, and she still spoke hard. She drew out the emerald green sword from her waist. This sword is called the blue water sword. The whole body is like water, and the fish scale patterns are like the ripples on the water surface. Bang! I saw the golden armor spirit officer flash towards Mo Linger, and the curved sword knocked the blue water sword away, with the blade placed on Mo Linger's neck. Mo Linger also cultivates true qi, but she is not the enemy of the golden armor spirit officer's unity. The golden armor spirit officer is extremely fast and can even confuse the mind. In the eyes of Qian, he is a paper man, but in the eyes of others, he is a true man. Even Mo Linger didn't notice how the big man in front of her came to her side. Do you know the next level of the nameless mind technique? Speak it out, I'll spare you from dying. Qian picked up the blue water sword and walked up to Mo Linger. My grandfather also knows magic. Don't think that having a few skills in magic is amazing. Just let me go. Mo Linger has become spoiled, even in the face of life-threatening situations, she still threatens Qian. In her impression, Qian was still a submissive little Taoist. The golden armor spirit officer gently exerted force, leaving a blood mark on Mo Linger's neck, as if pouring blood. It seems that my kind tone has caused you misunderstandings, I'm sorry. Qian's smiling face suddenly turned cold, with a chilling chill. The next time, you'll lose your head. No. I know, if you let me go, I will definitely let Grandpa give it to you. Mo Linger was also frightened and harbored a deep hatred in her heart, so she had to speak softly. Goodbye. Mo Linger's eyes darkened and she lost consciousness. A beautiful head fell to the ground, its eyes staring. After the blood ran dry, Qian tore off a piece of cloth and hugged his head. He is not someone who kneels and licks every time he sees a beautiful woman. Not to mention that Mo Linger had a grudge against herself, even unrelated people were killed in this situation. Let's not delay. Let's take action tonight. The night is dark and the wind is high, killing the night. The heavens seemed to sense the killing intent, as the misty clouds obscured the moonlight and wind and rain approached. In the quiet room, an elderly man with white hair sat cross-legged, with candles lit on both sides. Mo Liang doesn't have the fairy spirit of the day, instead he looks like an old monster. The skin is as dry as tree bark, with black spots all over the face. A strong stench lingers around, and it cannot be removed without fragrance. Mo Liang opened his eyes, which were white and cloudy, as if they were withered. Cough cough. Mo Liang trembled and took out a lacquer box. It was filled with black and red powder, and an indescribable stench filled the entire room. Mo Liang picked up a small handful of powder and came to the candlestick, rubbing his fingers. The powder slowly fell into the candlestick. The candle burned out the powder, the flames turned green, and the room was filled with a gloomy glow. Wisps of green smoke rise and stop in mid-air, forming winding and twisted runes. Ah ah! A faint cry of sorrow came from the void. Mo Liang closed his eyes and took a deep breath, his expression satisfied. The old age spots on his face suddenly decreased a lot, his complexion became rosy, and he looked much younger. Mo Liang reluctantly closed the lid and sighed, there aren't many in powder left. Mo Liang is over 90 years old this year. I suffered serious injuries while fighting with others when I was young. I was supposed to die, but I accidentally discovered the true remains of a person. I learned several Taoist techniques to extend my life to this day. This longevity spell is called the Dirty Yin Du Shou technique. It is made by refining lead, mercury, and yellow sand with human effort. Generally, practitioners are preferred for their hard work. The amount of hard work is extremely small, and a person's hard work can earn less than 2 coins, which can prolong their life for about 6 months. The disciples cultivated over the years are all in small boxes just now. This is not a technique for longevity, and the time for prolonging life is decreasing. Even qualified disciples are almost dead. Using a little less yin powder, Mo Liang also felt a bit distressed. He looked around and carefully took out the red cloth bag. Inside is a palm-sized emerald green jade pendant. It is engraved with complex cloud seal talismans, animal patterns, and demon patterns, with a character in the middle called Yu. I wish I were 20 years old, Mo Liang greedily stroked the jade pendant. On the back of the jade pendant, there is a line of small characters engraved. On the 15th day of the 7th month, the gates of ghosts open wide. When you throw yourself into the water to ask for directions, true immortals welcome you. This is a token leading to the immortal sect. Derived from the legacy of a great master. As long as you hold a card and throw it into the water at the agreed time, you can have the true immortal introduction beginner. However, the introduction of the immortal sect also requires an age requirement. Under the age of 20, Mo Liang's age does not meet this requirement. Now put hope on Mo Linger, hoping she can find the treasure pill or secret method. Mo Liang reluctantly put down the jade pendant. Before he could put it away, there was a knock outside the door. Taoist, someone is asking for an audience, said the servant. What's up? Mo Liang frowned. It's usually not a big deal, and it's not allowed to disturb him late at night. It's Lu Qian. He said he felt a sense of anger. What? Mo Liang was overjoyed and stood up abruptly. He came to deliver a pillow when he was dozing off. Let him wait for me in the hall quickly. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Even in death, I have to hold you back. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Even in death, I have to hold you back. Hurry up and call him to the hall, I'll be right here. Mo Liang was overjoyed. The powder in the vaginal box is almost used up. If there are no new cultivators, he really needs to take out some precious treasures to cultivate talents. I didn't expect Lu Qian to keep quiet and give himself a big surprise. Lu Qian, as a reward, I will definitely bury your bones properly, Mo Liang thought to himself. Lu Qian was originally isolated at the foot of the mountain, and his life was as low as grass. Now dying to fulfill one's own immortal path is also considered a blessing in life. Mo Liang opened the lead box, wiped some powder on his face, put on a sachet, and looked like a righteous person with a strange fragrance. Arriving at the hall, Lu Qian sat precariously with a wooden box beside him. I have seen Mo Daotong before. Upon seeing Mo Liang's arrival, Lu Qian stood up and bowed down. His eyes were shining brightly, and Mo Liang could tell at a glance that this was his first time sensing in his lack of control over true qi. Mo Liang helped up Lu Qian and said with a kind smile, "Please, you are truly a young hero." Taoist, I accidentally stumbled upon a wild fruit in the afternoon. It's strange to say, one fruit at a time. The fruit is fiery red, and eating it makes me feel angry for some reason. Is it the legendary zhugua? Mo Liang felt both hatred and jealousy in his heart, hating Lu Qian for discovering why he didn't offer it to him and instead ate it. But on the surface, it still looks like the wind is light and the clouds are light. After all, Lu Qian is a small commoner in the mountains and does not recognize treasures. However, that's also good, there's no need to spend resources fattening him. After a while, I will directly kill and take blood, but most of the medicine will still belong to myself. The little man also discovered a cave that seemed to have been inhabited by someone before. There were some bottles and jars inside, and the little man dared not move around, so he presented it to the Taoist priest. What? Mo Liang was excited and pulled off a few whiskers. There are exotic treasures and caves. Is this kid so lucky to have encountered the legendary opportunity? Okay, let me take a look. Mo Liang took 3 steps and 2 steps in front of the wooden box, feeling excited. Several years ago, I encountered resources and achieved what I am today. Is winning the immortal fate again today a sign of impending breakthrough? Old innocence treats itself well. Mo Liang slowly opened it and saw a lifelike head with wide-open eyes. Because it was marinated with lime beforehand, there was no bloody smell. At the moment of seeing the appearance of the head, Mo Liang's body stiffened, and his excited expression froze on his face. His throat was dry and he made a hee-hee sound. Linger. Linger. An unexpected thing appeared before his eyes, and Mo Liang was momentarily stunned. Die, old dog. Almost simultaneously, Lu Qian gave a cold smile, flipped his wrist, and a 3-foot-long sword appeared. A beam of sword light, so dazzling that people cannot open their eyes. Puff. The blue water sword pierced into Mo Liang's abdomen and emerged through his body, with no trace of blood on the blade. Mo Liang deserves to be a veteran of the Jianghu for many years. At the critical moment, dodged the fatal blow with instinct. Little thief, how dare you? Mo Liang's beard and hair were all open, and his eyes were red. With a wave of his sleeve robe, an invisible force knocked Lu Qian away, damaging several seats. Why don't you dare, Lingguan? Up. Lu Qian's finger-pinching technique. Boom. The figure of the golden armor broke through the door, with wood shavings flying everywhere. A round moon-curved sword pierced through, taking its head straight. Paper people. Mo Liang snorted coldly, drew out his long sword from his abdomen, and threw it to the ground. With his gaze, how could he not discern the confusion of the paper man, and at a glance, uncover the true face of the golden armor spirit officer? Bang! Mo Liang's true energy surged, and the curved blade fell into place, splitting the mahogany table open. Interesting, the art of origami. It seems like an adventure. Mo Liang gave a miserable smile. I'll catch you soon, and I'll put you in a steamer to steam you alive. Boom. Lightning and thunder, rainstorm pouring. Mo Liang reached into his arms and squeezed out 2 white and black character papers. Wow. 2 groups of green flames the size of human heads flew in. The entire room is rendered green, like a underworld. Pop. The golden armor spirit officer flashed up to the green flame ghost fire, cutting everything with his blade in half. The ghost fire penetrated Lu Qian's body and flew over. Falling to the ground will corrode the ground into a large pit. The curved sword of the golden armor spirit officer was also burned by the flames. Lingguan, block him. Lu Qian's face sank like water, commanding the paper man to fight against Mo Liang. Mo Liang was seriously injured, with continuous bleeding from his abdomen, staining the ground red. Nevertheless, the combat effectiveness is exceptionally strong, with the ability to tear down tigers and leopards. The hall was in a mess, with debris and sawdust everywhere. The body of the golden armor spirit officer was damaged in multiple places, and without weapons, its combat effectiveness was greatly reduced. Death. Green flames and ghostly flames fell on the body of the golden armor spirit officer, and green smoke curled up, leaving only a clump of green ash in place. Lu Qian was forced to a corner, with a wall behind him and the exit blocked by Mo Liang. Why don't you run? You can still survive by kneeling down and begging for mercy. I don't believe you still have a paper man. Mo Liang covered his abdomen with his right hand and held the white talisman with his left hand, stumbling over. In the previous assessment, Lu Qian did not feel angry, and now it has only been a month at best. The amount of true qi is bound to be limited, as it has already reached its limit. Thinking of this, Mo Liang couldn't help but marvel at the depth of this son's scheming. With Mo Linger's head in disarray, he took the opportunity to sneak an attack, causing him to not exert half of his strength, almost allowing this kid to succeed. Is that right? There is another thunder outside. The deep blue electric light shone on Lu Qian's face, and his expression was very calm. Wow! A white shadow flew in outside the house again. A cold light arrived first, and Mo Liang didn't dodge in time. His old face was scratched with a deep bloodstain, and the powder on his face was washed down by water, revealing his face covered in old age spots. Standing still, this time it was a strange person with a short stature, wearing a pitch-black waterproof hat and dressed in a nighttime outfit. Carrying various flying knives and darts around the waist. The rain slowly dripped down the bamboo hat, and the quiet night made a crisp sound. Surprisingly, it's another paper figure. When the paper man stood still, several 7-star darts flew out of his hand. Good kid, there are quite a few tricks. Mo Liang was angry, distancing himself. The 7-star dart was nailed to the wall, but soon it turned into a paper dart that fell off, leaving a small hole on the wall. The paper man in a bamboo hat has dense attacks that make it impossible for him to get close, and Morian can only distance himself. Paper figures are not just a style, they are the only ones he wants, and their true energy is sufficient, with their form determined by himself. I originally wanted to build a Gatling paper figure, but unfortunately it didn't work and could only be used as a large burning iron rod. Perhaps the laws of this world are not suitable. A cup of tea time has passed. Mo Liang suddenly let out a muffled groan, his body froze, and 5 or 6 darts were nailed to his chest. He fell to the ground dejectedly, with jet-black blood flowing from his mouth and nose. You. Castor seed poison, a small pinch can kill a strong cow, explained Lu Qian with a smile. Castor seed is a common poisonous herb, and Lu Qian applied some on the blue water sword in advance. Only now did it happen, and Mo Liangjin truly deserves to be a master. Despicable and shameless. Mo Liang broke open and cursed loudly, vomiting blood with a whoosh. You too, how many people have died in your hands? Lingguan, go up. As Lu Qian spoke, he retreated towards the door. Even if Mo Liang was about to die, Lu Qian dared not take the risk to step forward. We must watch him die before we can go up. Seeing that Lu Qian was about to leave, Mo Liang's spirit shook and he cursed loudly, little beast, even if I die, I will hold you back. He took out a piece of yellow paper and sprayed a mouthful of blood on it. The runes lit up like dragons and snakes dancing and flew into his mouth. His figure skyrocketed by a few points, his face turned red, and he stepped on the ground with one foot, then launched a counterattack. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Thoughts on Tongyou Tuna Guan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Thoughts on Tongyou Tuna Guan. Mo Liang's face was crimson, like a cooked shrimp, with bulging veins on his forehead and red eyes, resembling a yakuza in hell. This talisman paper is called the 7-star burning blood talisman, which takes the cost of burning lifespan to climb its strength to its peak. In almost the blink of an eye, Mo Liang pounced on Lu Qian. Die for me. Mo Liang looked at Lu Qian with a resentful gaze, his pupils turning into beastly erect pupils. Green clothing ribbons flew out of the wide-sleeved robe, swaying in the wind, and green snakes danced wildly. Shoo shoo shoo. I saw that the green belt had turned into green scale venomous snakes. The venomous snake's triangular head was fluttering with green flames, spitting out black snake letters, and pounced with open fangs. Like octopus claws, dancing wildly from all directions, rushing towards us. Lu Qian's body stiffened, feeling an extremely dangerous aura. Mo Liang, this old dog, is really impressive. He has made so much preparation, and has deceived him so many times. On the brink of death, one can still fight back. The green snake spell in this sleeve is really powerful. The stench of the venomous snake filled his face, and his fangs were dripping with venom, corroding the slate. Lu Qian had no doubt about the power of this venom. Now I have no way to avoid it myself, and Mo Liang's desperate strike is really too fast. Of course, Lu Qian is not without a solution. He pinched the formula again and his true energy disappeared completely. A 3-foot paper boy rushed out from behind and blocked in front of Lu Qian. This is his last paper figure, and also his last bit of true energy. Although he had just recovered a bit during the struggle between Morian and the paper man, he could only summon a 3-foot dwarf. Wow! The venomous snake bit the paper man, injecting a green venom that spread like flames, quickly corroding the paper man into black water. After a short delay, the paper man in the bamboo hat arrived and the 7-star dart cut off the heads of 3 venomous snakes. The snake's head fell to the ground, transforming into a garment belt. Kill 3, there are still 8. The paper man in a bamboo hat can only block it for a moment, and the next second it will be directly burned to ashes by the venom. Kid, I've skinned and cramped you. Ha ha ha. Mo Liang is full of hatred. This kid has caused too much trouble. Killing his high hopes for a descendant and plotting against him resulted in severe damage to his strength. After this battle, it is unknown whether he can recover, as the two have a never-ending relationship. He waved his sleeve again, and the venomous snake with its tail hidden in his sleeve moved and stretched. At the critical moment, Lu Qian did not escape, but picked up the blue water sword and charged towards Mo Liang. The paper man originally fought for a few seconds of time. In just a few seconds, even if you can't run far, you can at least widen the distance. Even Mo Liang couldn't react to such a decisive decision. No one could have imagined that Lu Qian was so tough and fought back directly. The blue water sword cut off 2 green snakes and then, regardless of the others, stabbed at Mo Liang's heart. Shoo! The blue water sword passed through his chest, and Mo Liang widened his eyes. He murmured something, but couldn't say it, and his gaze gradually became blurred. Before death, with endless doubts and remorse. He didn't understand why a furry boy was hiding so deeply and where his adventure came from. He hated not discovering it earlier and making wedding clothes for others in vain. Everything is too late, decades of planning are in vain. The moment when the snake's mouth was about to bite Lu Qian's skin disappeared. Guess it right. Lu Qian put away his sword and wiped it with a calm expression, his tone unable to conceal his excitement. The green-scale venomous snake is very powerful, able to stretch and shrink, and has a fast speed. But there is a fatal flaw, it is just a spell, the caster dies and disappears immediately. Just now, Lu Qian seemed to trade his life for his own, but in fact, he had already thought of this layer. The rain gradually stopped and everything fell silent. Lu Qian looked at the sky and remained silent. People still rely on themselves. This rain almost caused a big problem today. Once the paper figure gets wet, it will be disastrous. Fortunately, he decisively killed all the gatekeepers and hid the paper figures in their pavilions. Now, everything is over. After this day, it will be a vast sea and sky. Taking a break, Lu Qian searched inside and outside. An hour later, Mo Liang's closed secret room was in a mess, with the floor flipped open and a thick layer of wall peeling off. Old goods have quite a deep collection of things. Lu Qian looked at the pile of items placed in front of him and thought to himself. Huangbai yellow paper 3 times stacked, 1 chicken blood talisman ink, 1 dagger, several medicinal herbs, 300 taels of silver, and 10 taels of gold. There are also 3 sets of tonifying qi and blood powder and prescriptions that Lu Qian needs the most. There is a stack of secret scripts on the table, including green flame poison fire technique, dirty yin du shou gong, Tongyou Tuna Guan thought, yin sha green scale snake transformation technique. And a thick notebook that recorded Mo Liang's cultivation insights. I took a rough look at the secret script and then put it aside. These things cannot be practiced for a while, and Lu Qian is most interested in the things in front of him. The box contains several things. A blue jade pendant with the words Tongyou written on it, and next to it is a letter containing 5 bronze square hole coins engraved with strange patterns. The body of half a blue scaled snake, with a triangular head, green eyes, and an astonishing aura, seems to be coming back to life in the next second. Finally, there is a small handful of black and red powder, known as yin powder. Upon seeing the content of the Jian Dushou Gong, Lu Qian finally knew where those seniors had gone. Although yin powder is evil, Lu Qian doesn't want to throw it away either. Let's put it away for now, maybe there will be a need in the future. Lu Qian never cared about whether the evil law was right or not. Law has no good or evil, it cares about oneself. Moreover, in the current situation, as long as one can enhance their own strength, they are willing to learn any method. The jade pendant seems to be some kind of token. The full name of the snake corpse is Yin Sha Qing scale snake. It grows in extremely yin areas and has a poisonous head, which is its venom. It is extremely toxic and can burn substances. This snake corpse is the material for practicing the Yin Sha green scale snake transformation technique. This spell is Mo Liang's recent move of transforming a snake into a garment. When practicing this technique, one must first grind the snake corpse, turn it into a spell with ink, and swallow it down. Only in this way can the clothes be transformed into a blue-scaled snake, otherwise it would be just an ordinary snake. There are still 4 hours before dawn, which is enough for me to restore my true energy and then cultivate this spell, Lu Qian thought to himself. Then take a pair of Ichi-Bushu-san. A scorching force flowed into all 4 limbs and skeletons, and the speed of true Qi's circulation around the sky suddenly accelerated. Lu Qian seemed to be completely immersed in the warm hot springs, and his injuries slowly healed. Time slowly passes by. A loud rooster crow sounded. Lu Qian slowly opened his eyes. Nameless Mind Method, Shao Cheng. 16/100. Nameless Mind Method, Shao Cheng. 20/100, Yin Sha Green Scale Snake Transformation Technique, Beginner. 0/20. Yin Sha Green Scale Snake Transformation Technique, Beginner. 1/20th, the pitch-black circle behind the Nameless Mind technique lit up 20 scales, accounting for 1/5. The effect of Ichi-Bushu-san medicine is powerful, with 1 circle leading to 4 circles and suddenly increasing by 4 scales. The Yin Sha Green Scale Snake Transformation Technique has also been successfully introduced, with an initial scale of 20, indicating a high threshold. After practicing, Lu Qian didn't rush to leave and still sat in the quiet room. The Yin wind blew, the candle extinguished, and Lu Qian's figure gradually faded into darkness. Everyone in the Taoist temple finished washing up early. Today is the end-of-month assessment, and Mo Liang will assess everyone's cultivation on this day. The person who successfully realizes the sense of Qi will completely cut off the mortal world and go to the mysterious immortal gate for cultivation. "Old Wu, why haven't you seen Mr. Lu?" said a Tong. "I heard that Miss Linger went to trouble him yesterday and may have been killed," said another child gloating. In a group, there are always people who are bullied. The silent Lu Qian became the object of ridicule among the crowd. Especially after Lu Qian offended Mo Linger, many people followed the crowd to please her. "Oh, it's so quiet today, and the door hasn't opened either." More than 10 Taoist children stood outside the Vermilion Gate waiting. The door was delayed and there were no guards, causing some unease among the crowd. Jia, the door slowly opened. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Huangquan. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 7 Huangquan. The Vermilion Gate slowly opens. Everyone held their breath and stared, for some reason, feeling in their hearts that the door was like a beast with a big mouth open. To swallow them all, the two big red lanterns by the door are the eyes of the monster. Passing through the courtyard path, we arrived at the entrance of the hall. At this moment, the sun had not yet risen, and the hall was somewhat gloomy. A figure could be faintly seen sitting in the main seat, with a burly man standing beside him. Everyone walked in and saw a young man sitting in the main seat. The man, dressed in a broad blue-sleeved robe, lazily leaned back on the chair, not looking at the crowd, and savored the tea in his hand. The strong man next to him was dressed in a coarse cloth short fight, 7 feet long, with eyes like copper bells, and a tiger-like wind. Lu Qian, how could it be you? Someone identified himself as a man. For a moment, everyone was in an uproar. Lu Qian, you have the courage to sit in the position of Taoist. Crazy, even immortals can't save you. Aren't you afraid that the Taoist will blame you? Kneel down now. Everyone cursed one after another, and a few even rushed forward to beat up Lu Qian. For them, Mo Yang was their god, an omnipotent existence. Seeing Lu Qian's arrogance, their hearts were filled with anger. The Taoist named Lao Wu rushed to the front just now. Looking at Lu Qian seemed to be looking at a pile of white silver. If he were to beat this guy up first, adults would definitely reward him. Just as I was thinking about it, I saw a strong man next to me lifting his foot and kicking towards me. Bang! Lao Wu was directly kicked away and slammed into the wall, his chest sunken and he spat out blood, unconscious. The other few were also kicked away by the strong man. Everyone was shocked and pale, their backs were cold, and they were drenched in cold sweat. If I had just hit myself, I'm afraid I'll be lying on the ground now. You're so brave, don't think having a helper is great. Daotong has boundless magical power, and you'll be the one to look good at later, one person shouted. They thought of Liang and felt a lot of peace in their hearts. The Taoist priest had great powers, and Lu Qian borrowed the power from somewhere. He thought he could do whatever he wanted with this, but he really didn't know the superiority of heaven and earth. Is that the Taoist you're talking about? Lu Qian pointed to the right side of the road. Subconsciously, everyone looked around. I saw a porcelain plate on the sour branch wooden table. There is a human head held upright at its top. The human head looks old, covered in black spots, with angry eyes and black blood flowing from the 7 orifices, indicating how angry and unwilling he was during his lifetime. Taoist. The Taoist is dead, how could it be? Isn't it this kid who killed it? The first reaction of everyone was disbelief. The person who was perceived as very cowardly could not possibly kill the powerful Taoist Liang. Impossible. Zizi, at this moment, a faint sound of spitting silk caught everyone's attention. The voice comes from Lu Qian's side. I saw a green-scaled venomous snake sprouting from Lu Qian's sleeve, with a thick cup mouth, a pitch-black snake letter, a green ghostly fire, and emerald-green pupils as if they were the deepest fear in the world. Puff. The green-scale venomous snake instantly stretched out and bit the front row street child with one bite. The snake's head was green and the ghostly fire flickered. Ah! The child let out a scream, his veins bulging and his whole body turning black. Before everyone could react, something even more terrifying happened next. The body of the Taoist was like a melting candle, quickly turning into a pool of foul-smelling pus. Ghosts. Help. Everyone almost scared and wet their pants, and fled in all directions. Some people knelt down and begged for mercy, attempting to spare them for the sake of past relationships. However, pleading was of no use, and Lu Qian didn't even blink his eyes. The strong paper man guarded the door, while the green-scaled snakes hunted down one by one. The green ghost fire dyed the hall green, and Lu Qian's calm face remained unchanged, as if he were the demon king in this underworld. Since awakening Su Hui, Lu Qian has not been the same as before. After staying on the mountain for half a year, seeing the warmth and coldness of people, and even almost being killed by Mo Linger, his mind became very firm. Always have a heart of seeking immortality and remain steadfast. The disciples had a conflict with themselves, and no one believed in sharing the history of the old Taoist sect. They had to be killed. Shoo! A gust of green smoke drifted by, and the blue-scaled snake transformed into a blood-stained garment. Lu Qian wiped the blood off his hands and looked out the window. Hurry up and notify the guards at the foot of the mountain. The maid screamed at the crowd. Outside the window, maids and servants hurriedly walked by. I'm sorry, Lu Qian's eyes flashed with a cold light. These people are orphans raised by Mo Liang from a young age, extremely loyal to him, even willing to let them die immediately. Another burst of blood light. Dark clouds are dense, and wind and rain are about to come. The only living person in the entire Taoist temple is Lu Qian. Lu Qian suddenly collapsed heavily on the chair, drinking tea, his hands and feet trembling slightly. The nerves that had been tense for more than 10 days finally relaxed at this moment. God knows how much pressure he faced, so great that he forgot what it felt like to kill someone for the first time. However, these are all worth it. This time, I gained 2 spells in total, 1 follow-up technique, 1 longevity technique, and a prescription for nourishing blood and qi powder. A few treasures that are still unknown. Let's practice on the mountain for a while first, Lu Qian thought to himself. There is no one on the mountain now, and the guards at the foot of the mountain are not from the legitimate lineage of Mo Liang. They are the people sent by high-ranking officials to curry favor with him. I usually don't come to the mountain without Morian's orders. Staying on the mountain for 2 to 3 months is not a big problem. Take advantage of this time to digest the acquired knowledge well. In the following days, Lu Qian will focus on practicing martial arts, not only eating, drinking, and urinating, but also constantly practicing and concentrating. After practicing internal skills, practice other martial arts, rest overnight, and then practice internal skills in such a cycle, tirelessly, gradually forgetting oneself. In the quiet room, a man in a black Taoist robe sat on a cushion. The man's skin was pale, with faint blood vessels visible, and a faint black mist seemed to linger around his body. As I breathe, the mist feels like it has life. Lu Qian was observing a pattern in the sea. A pitch-black world, a blood-red sky. Amidst the dark clouds and mist, a yellow holy river flows like mercury, like a dragon crouching on the pitch-black earth. Countless shadows covering the sky, stacked buildings, numerous ghosts and gods, and evil spirits howling are all reincarnated in this river. This is the Tongyou Tuna meditation, abbreviated as Tongyou Tuna method. Practice by visualizing the secluded underworld through oneself. After successfully converting the subsequent techniques, the true qi in the body seems to have a layer of cold yin. My temperament has become as cold as ice, with a ghostly aura. Especially when exercising power, it is particularly evident. Of course, the benefits are particularly evident. Wow! The figure seemed to turn into black mist, like a ghost in the dark night, leaping out more than 10 zhang. The figure of black mist kept moving in the jungle, effortlessly flying white talismans that turned into green fireballs, burning a large tree together into ashes. 3 venomous snakes moved with their figures, appearing and disappearing, seeking a hunting opportunity. For a long time, Lu Qian finished his work and stood still, with a white-faced Bao guard beside him to protect the Dharma. Tongyou Tuna method, Xiao Cheng. 92 out of 200, Ghost Origami Technique, Xiao Cheng. 26 out of 100, Yin Sha Green Scale Snake Transformation Technique, Xiao Cheng. 30/120, Green Flame Poison Fire Technique, minor success. 20/50, this is the result of over a month of cultivation. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Escort Messenger. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 8. Escort Messenger. In just over a month, I have greatly improved my proficiency. The Tongyou Tuna technique directly inherits the proficiency of the Nameless Mind technique, and the pitch black circle scale has been increased to 200 scales. The scales of other spells are also different. It seems that there are some changes in the corresponding scales due to the differences in spells. Qian took out a jade pendant, which was shining in the sunlight with a dark luster. The character, Yu, seemed to be some mysterious rune, and he could feel the terrifying energy inside. On the right hand are 5 copper coins. Bronze material, with winding and twisted vermilion runes carved on it. This is the currency commonly used by practitioners. Dharma money. The cultivator drew runes and infused them with true qi. This item can replenish true qi, and can also be used to arrange arrays, cast spells, and so on. It is generally used as currency, and its value varies according to the purity and quantity of its true qi. In the human world, this type of money is extremely rare, and the lowest quality is worth 100 gold coins. And the Dharma money is made by the true qi of cultivators, so it is not unfounded that Taoist priests turn stones into gold. July 15, 3 days later, murmured Qian to himself. He plans to visit this so-called immortal sect. The breathing and breathing technique is just a complete cultivation method for the fetal breathing realm. Afterwards, there are also qi cultivation and spiritual cultivation realms. Corresponding to the 2 stages of refining essence and transforming qi in mythology, and refining qi and returning spirit. Cultivation is like learning. If you want to go further, you must systematically pursue further education within your sect. The ancient sages had a preliminary understanding of cultivation, and their understanding of the division of realms was only limited to basic concepts such as refining essence and transforming qi to restore spirit, and refining spirit to counter emptiness. After countless years of development, the division of realms is very detailed, and each realm has a systematic cultivation method. Qian does not want to build cars behind closed doors or become a local tyrant on the mountain. Indeed, his current strength can greatly replace Mo Liang's position and become a guest of honor for high-ranking officials and dignitaries in a radius of hundreds of miles. But that's all for a lifetime. Seeking immortality is like cutting through thorns and thorns, like sailing against the current. If you don't advance, you will retreat. 3 days later. The moon is bright and the night is deep, with dense clouds. On July 15, the traditional ghost festival, it is said that on this day, the gates of ghosts are opened and ghosts will roam the world. The dense dark clouds in the sky and the howling wind set off a gloomy and terrifying night. Deep in the dense forest, a stream flows with murmurs. Moonlight, like a light veil, passes through the branches and shoots, casting tree shadows on the water surface. The gentle breeze brushed over, causing ripples to form on the water surface. The branches and buds swayed like demons dancing wildly. Qian was carrying 2 large packages and standing by the stream. A tall and strong man stood in the shadow behind him. He took out the jade pendant and threw it into the water. Pop it. At the moment when the jade pendant entered the water, Qian's expression became somewhat nervous, and his right hand clasped the white talisman paper in his sleeve. In case of any danger, several flame poison fireballs and viper snake will fly out in an instant. Gudong Dong, the bottom of the water seemed to boil, constantly emitting bubbles. Glittering green light bloomed in the center of the water. Buzzing, the eerie vibration echoed in all directions, and the entire stream was dyed fluorescent green. The water surface was pitch black and the mist became increasingly dense, slowly wriggling as if there was life. Qian's face showed a light green color, like a ghost coming out of the underworld. Wow! A faint sound of water came through. Qian looked at the sound. I saw a dark shadow like a willow leaf on the water in the distance. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a ship docked upside down underwater. There is a tall figure standing on the underwater boat, with the wood pulp sliding through the water flow. The sound of the water just now came from here. The scene is very eerie, as if the water and underwater are two separate worlds. Wow! Suddenly, the ship overturned. In an instant, the sky and earth spun around, and the scene changed. Lu Qian came to a world with only fluorescent green. A dark green mist, shimmering streams, and a sky full of fluorescence. A ship stopped in front of me at an unknown time. There is a tall figure standing on the ship. This person is 9 feet long, with legs accounting for most of his height. He is wearing a straw hat and a raincoat, standing tightly on the willow boat that accommodates 2 people. What is your surname and who? What is your age, what level of cultivation, and who recommends it? The male's voice was slightly hoarse and echoing. I have seen an envoy before. I am Lu Qian, who is 17 years old and has a birth rate and cultivation. No one recommended me, but I obtained the jade pendant by chance. Lu Qian bowed and said. This person doesn't seem to be human, he can't feel his body temperature, and his temperament is eerie. Such a unique way of appearing, Lu Qian naturally dared not wait for it. This must be the legendary immortal messenger. However, the appearance of the immortal sect messenger is also a bit eerie, isn't it not quite like a prestigious and upright family? The imagined scene should be a fairyland with a wide open immortal gate and a floating auspicious atmosphere, and at the very least, it would be a fairy riding a crane. Just thinking about it, July 15th alone is somewhat unusual. The matter has come to this point, let's take a look and see. Everyone has arrived, so you can't tell them. I'm sorry if there's something at home, I won't go. I'm not sure if someone will take action against me. Just call me the escort and board the ship, said the escort. There were also tone words, which seemed to have human emotions. A thought arose in Lu Qian's heart. Lightly tap your feet and jump onto the boat. The boat sways slightly, creating ripples. Receiving envoys, this is a small gesture of goodwill. Lu Qian reached into his arms and took out 3 green bronze magic coins. The gentle breeze blew by, and the Dharma money disappeared. The envoy nodded slightly, and his attitude seemed to have loosened a lot. The messenger flipped his wrist and placed a peachwood card on his right palm, wearing deerskin gloves. The sign has the word "Si" written on the front and "Tongyou" written on the back. This is the Taoist card, keep it well. Lu Qian accepted the sign and asked, I dare to ask the envoy, what is the use of this item? Perhaps it was a matter of a few Dharma coins, and the envoy said in a muffled voice, this is the card used by the patrolling in soldiers to identify the enemy and ourselves. If there is no such card, they will all be killed according to the pattern of outsiders. You are over 16 years old. Although you have cultivation, you are not from a legitimate sect background and have no recommendation from Taoist priests within the sect. Your background is ominous, so you can only get a 3rd grade. Lu Qian wanted to ask what was the difference in treatment between Bing and others, but the envoy remained silent. At this moment, the ship moved. A flat boat paddles across the gorgeous water surface, creating a beautiful scene. This long stream is about to lead to an unknown depth. The future is uncertain, and Lu Qian feels a bit uncertain in his heart. At this moment, the envoy suddenly spoke up, just a reminder, no matter what strange things you see later, remember not to make noise, not to look straight at you, guard the spiritual platform tightly, and not be moved. Thank you for your guidance, Lu Qian said solemnly. After an unknown amount of time, the ship stopped. In front of me is a vast mountain range. The trees are tall, and the thinnest ones are embraced by 3 people. The tree shade is dense, blocking the moonlight. Fallen leaves fall one after another, and countless birds and animals chirp loudly. Lu Qian looked around and saw dozens of identical ships, full of men and women in different clothes. Some people have extraordinary magnanimity and a confident mind, someone looked around with an uneasy expression, some, like Lu Qian, remain silent and observe the surroundings silently. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The Transit of Yin Soldiers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The transit of Yin soldiers. The ushers on the ship were dressed in uniform, even their height was the same. If they all stood together, Lu Qian couldn't recognize which one was the one who was guiding him. Lu Qian found that those with confidence on their faces mostly had peach-wood talismans on their waists as B and a few as A. From their expressions, it seemed that they were not surprised by these mysterious scenes. Walking forward is like a mountain gate. Wow! Everyone was thrown ashore. The ship flipped back into the water, turning into black shadows and disappearing. At first glance, these black shadows looked like groups of black fish in the water. Hello everyone. Hello, Brother Dao. I'm going to Luli. Below. Oh my, it's actually a fellow villager. Nice to meet you. From now on, everyone will be fellow disciples of Tongyou Temple. There were quite a few people present, about 50 or 60, some of whom started chatting with each other, lively like a vegetable market. Lu Qian secretly observed the crowd and found that most of the people with cards A and B were quiet and reserved. Even if someone talked, they just casually passed by and didn't want to talk much. Lu Qian remembered the words he had just received from the envoy, feeling alert and secretly retreating behind the crowd. At this moment, a green ghost fire suddenly lit up in the darkness. Everyone looked up and suddenly discovered that the mountains were filled with green ghostly flames. The ghost fire is getting bigger and bigger, like a lantern. Everyone saw that this was not a ghost fire, but a pair of eyes. The owner of the eyes is 5 feet tall, covered in a pitch-black cloak, wearing a hat on his head, and under the veil are a pair of eyes as big as lanterns. The attire and escort are somewhat similar, with the only difference being that they have a white background and black lettering on their bamboo hats with the word death. This group of people is as tall as a mountain, with an unknown number. They look down on everyone from high, as if they are looking at little chicks. Is this what the envoy referred to as the mountain patrol Yin soldier? The Yin soldiers patrolling the mountains appeared with thick mist. Although they were tall, they walked without any sound. A pitch-black hand stretched out, with long fingers and sharp nails like curved knives, grabbing one of the Taoist children like a chick. Sharp claws and teeth dismembered the Taoist child in his screams, grabbing a handful of bloody visceral flesh and stuffing it into his mouth. Creaking teeth shatter bones and make a biting sound. Several screams rang out one after another, and about a dozen Taoist children were devoured alive. Lu Qian quickly lowered his head and dared not look directly. Waves of coldness swept over the entire body, and the gaze of the patrolling Yin soldier swept over the remaining crowd. A great terror swept over oneself, making one feel like falling into an ice cave. All was quiet, the temperature getting colder and colder, and I could vaguely hear people around me trembling their teeth. Lu Qian used his true qi to gain some warmth in his body. A rustling sound sounded. Lu Qian saw from his feet on the ground that the Yin soldiers were lined up and walking towards the crowd. Like walking or drifting, silently. The cold is getting closer and closer, and the peach talisman on my waist is emitting white light, sending a wave of warmth. The Yin weapon seems to have no substance, and whenever it encounters someone, it goes straight through. Lu Qian's body has been worn several times, but due to the peach talisman, he only felt a chill in his body. Ah, a woman exclaimed in surprise. Perhaps he was too nervous and startled by the approaching Yin soldiers. The woman reacted and immediately covered her small mouth, feeling like she was about to cry, her beautiful eyes covered in mist. Unfortunately, it was of no use. She had already been stared at by a cold gaze. Click, click, click. There was another tingling sound of chewing on the scalp. For a long time, the last patrolling Yin soldier disappeared from everyone's sight. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief in their hearts. Lu Qian looked around and saw that there were only a few and a half people missing, leaving more than 30 people left. Everyone is friendly. I am Li Lin, a first-class peach talisman. If there are no more obstacles, we are the true Taoist friends. A man arched his hand and said, about 15 or 16 years old, dressed in glamorous clothes and with an extraordinary demeanor. I'm Siete, Brother Dao, what's going on just now? A man asked. This person, like Lu Qian, was B and stepped up to Li Lin's side with a somewhat flattering attitude. It's just a screening, there are always lucky ones who get the chance of immortality, but unfortunately their virtue doesn't match their position and they don't enjoy it. Li Lin was surrounded by everyone, showing a strong leadership spirit. Some people accidentally get tokens without qualifications. This kind of person entering the Tongyou temple is also a waste of resources. So this level is used to screen those who lack motivation. Brotherly, did he know these secrets in advance? Said a second-class woman coquettishly. Li Lin looked at the woman with a hint of amazement in his eyes and said confidently, to be honest, my uncle is the patrol steward of Tongyou temple. As soon as this statement was made, everyone praised and formed a small group around Li Lin. There are other small groups in groups of 3 or 2. Either based on status or region. There are also 3 or 2 arrogant Jia, Daotong who are unwilling to be with others. One of the women with stunning beauty and icy coldness is the most eye-catching. This woman is one of the 6 top players, alone and not communicating with others. Even Li Lin, who has a wide range of friends, dare not offend. There is also a man holding a sword, with his nostrils facing upwards, disdainful of everyone. Lu Qian looked at the groups around him and realized that being alone was too conspicuous. Looking left and right, I noticed a group of people. Most of these people only have Bing Ding, but only one is of grade B. That is a man with divine eyes and sword-like eyebrows. Just now, Lu Qian vaguely heard their disdainful words. Not willing to follow the footsteps of those who cling, and having come from a small place, there is no place or small group to embrace. Under the leadership of Lu Qian, everyone is friendly. Lu Qian approached and clasped his fists. UCI. The man with the second card is as cautious as gold in his words. Wang Ming. Dao is friendly, said the short-bearded man boldly. This person is the oldest and has a Ding card. Han Li, said the cute girl with a round face timidly. Tang Bing. Dao is friendly. The last girl in the small team has an ordinary appearance and a carefree personality. There are 2 other men who are introverted and only nod slightly without naming. Brother, where are you from? Wang Mingho smiled brightly. People from Wujuan. Coincidentally, I'm also from Wujuan, Wang Ming exclaimed in surprise. Brother, how did you come here? By chance, I got the jade pendant, said Lu Qian, with a deep understanding. I can't say I got it by killing and robbing treasures. A few people walked and chatted, gradually getting to know each other. The eerie scene, with a few people talking, made their fear fade away. On Li Lin's side, he can be said to be surrounded by stars and the moon, faintly becoming the opinion leader of everyone. He also enjoys the feeling of being praised by everyone. Che, what are you proud of? You're just a relative of a small deacon, and those who don't know think you're one of the 8 deacons. Wang Ming seemed to dislike Li Lin's style. Brother Wang, what are the 8 deacons? Lu Qian asked in confusion. A few people around stood up listening. Oh, you still don't know? Forget it, let me tell you some precautions to avoid offending others when entering the audience. Wang Ming explained heartily to everyone. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. 10 Square Jungle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 10 Square Jungle. Our Taoist temple is called Tongyou Temple, which is a sect created by Taoists from Tongyou 200 years ago. The Guan system also adopts the widely circulated 10 directions jungle system. Wang Ming is very familiar with these. 10-sided jungle. Yes. Overall, there are 3 capitals, 5 masters, 8 deacons, and 18 heads inside the door. Sandu refers to, Sandu means all in charge, and all in charge of cooking. Everyone is in charge of managing all major and minor affairs, and is responsible for studying martial arts classics. The kitchen is also responsible for various kitchen assignments, monthly expenses, logistics, and so on. The 5 masters are the Hall Master, Law Enforcement Hall, in charge of law enforcement supervision, Hall Master, Lingbao Hall, Elixir Refining, Jing Master, Talisman Array Scripture Academy, Talisman Array, Hua Master, Spirit Transformation Studio, Raising Monsters, Ghosts, Corpse, etc., and Jing Master, Spirit Garden, planting spiritual grass and plants, making spiritual food, etc. The 8 deacons are guests, Liao, Ku, Zhang, Jing, Jian, Tang, and Hao. 18 heads are the heads of various miscellaneous affairs. They are respectively Kutu, Zhuangtou, Tangtu, Zhongtou, Gutu, Mentu, Chatu, Shuetu, Huotou, Fantu, Kaitu, Sangtou, Motu, Niantu, Yuantu, Chito, Chutu, and Jingtu. Cultivation of immortals can be divided into realms such as fetal rest, Qi cultivation, spiritual cultivation, Taoist foundation, and alchemy. At least all of the 3 capitals and 5 masters have Taoist practices in the later stages of spiritual cultivation, and the master of the Tongyou temple above them is even more unfathomable. However, the Tongyou temple is different from ordinary Taoist temples. The 3 capitals and 5 masters are basically honorary positions, and they are dedicated to cultivation in their daily lives. Its affairs are generally managed by the 8 deacons and 18 heads. The ones we can deal with are them at this point. Wang Ming felt somewhat helpless and glanced at Li Lin, saying, deacons other than the 8 deacons are called miscellaneous deacons, and their status is equal to that of the 18. If Li Lin hadn't relied on his elders, he wouldn't have obtained a card. He really put it on. I see. Your Excellency is quite familiar with this, and it seems that you are also a descendant of Lord Guanzhong. Blushed, waved his hand and said, what an adult. My brother is just the assistant of the head of the garden. I'm really ashamed. I can only enter the temple with my brother's help. Wang Ming is about 10 to 20.1 years old, and his own qualifications are not good. If it weren't for his connections in the sect, he might have been eaten by the Yin soldiers long ago. Relying on relationships to win the Ding card shows the difference in qualifications, and this is how it will be in this lifetime. So he also doesn't want to show off and instead dislikes those people very much. By the way, you can keep this brand. Different brands have different benefits. The first beginners have to start with Daotong. Daotong is used for work, and there is no need for miscellaneous tasks, with 1 Dharma coin per month. Brand B has 7 days per month and 1 coin per 2 months. The third card has 1 day off for 3 days and 1 coin for 3 months. Ding card has 1 day off for 7 days and 1 money off for 6 months. Of course, Daotong is also considered a half-disciple. There are no multiple tasks arranged inside the door, and basically they just sneak around. If one fails to practice Qi within 3 years, they will be demoted to the lowest level of miscellaneous labor and receive even worse treatment. They will not be considered disciples and will be driven by others, unable to control themselves. Another type is like Lu Qian, who practiced martial arts before entering the realm of fetal rest, and the time was shortened to 1 year. Within 1 year, he must enter the realm of Qi cultivation. A year. Lu Qian thought to himself. I have a mysterious golden mirror on me, and I don't know if I can enter the realm of Qi cultivation within a year. The Tongyou breathing technique has only achieved a small success now, and there will definitely be a great success in the future. It is unknown whether there will be any realm after the great success. There are also 400 to 500 scales in total. Without relying on elixirs or other external forces, it takes at least 100 days to exercise energy 3 times a day in the morning, middle, and evening. Only in this way can one achieve great fetal success. This is just an ideal state, with work to do every month and other tasks to handle. It is impossible to practice diligently every day. The subsequent techniques may not take much time to get started. At this moment, everyone crossed the forest and a towering white mountain gate appeared in front of them. The mountain gate is tall, with 4 pillars and 3 holes, and the entire body is made of pure white marble. In the center of the gate, there are 3 seal characters written in silver with iron hooks. Tongyou Guan. A vast and boundless momentum rushed towards us. A surge of ambition and determination arose in the hearts of everyone. After passing this door, I cut off the mortal world and embarked on the path of cultivating immortality. In front of the mountain gate stood a 3-foot-tall boy with white powder blusher and a red coat. Under the night, the boy appeared very gloomy, with large pupils and an expressionless face, not resembling a human. I am Li Yutong, a Taoist from Yutong. Please come with me and don't make any noise. The boy's voice was hoarse and old. Yes, Yutong Daotong. Li Lin respectfully saluted the chief, and the crowd called out to Daotong. The generation of Tongyou Guan is Tong Ming Miao Dian, profound and mysterious, the beauty of all jade is innate. There are only Taoists who can understand characters. Most of the 3 generations of Ming Miaodian are middle and senior level observers. Most of the 4th generation are senior disciples or various miscellaneous staff deacons. The seniority of Tongyou Temple is based on the entry-level regulations. There is also a factor of strength, and if you meet the strength standard, you can receive any seniority from senior management. To avoid making jokes about strong power but low seniority. After speaking, the boy turned around and walked inside the door, walking along the path. Everyone closely followed behind. Wow! The sound of wings fluttering in the air. A group of golden-eyed black crows flew past, and in the middle, a black crow with a 7-foot wingspan landed in front of the boy with a chill. The black crow fell to the ground, and with a flash of black mist, it transformed into a middle-aged man wearing a pitch-black feather coat, with a hooked nose and an extremely white face. The man's gaze swept through the crowd like a knife, and his voice clashed like gold and iron, saying, "Who is here? Why travel at night? I am Li Yutong, my humble nickname is Yutong, and I have seen the Deep Crow Taoist." Li Yutong bowed respectfully and thought to himself, "Why is this evil star on duty today? Oh. You haven't told me the reason yet, do you want me to cramp and peel you before answering?" Deep Crow snorted coldly. "I am the 1st generation Daotong to enter," Li Yutong said, and then took out a Taoist talisman. "I see." The Taoist named Deep Crow turned to look at everyone with a fierce smile. "Hello everyone, Good morning, Master Deep Crow." Everyone bowed and bowed. Lu Qian thought to himself, is this sect too sinister? It shouldn't be a legendary evil sect, right? Or it could be a problem with their cultivation techniques. Tongyou, as soon as you hear its name, you can tell that it is a sect that deals with gloomy things. Anyway, these 2 people in front of me are both very strong. Originally, Lu Qian thought his strength was quite good. Now it seems that this sect is just starting out. The Deep Crow looked around the crowd, with a smile in his eyes that seemed rather than a smile. The people who were scanned by the gaze all lowered their heads in greeting. Including Lu Qian, who has been struggling for so many years. Sometimes being different can actually be a bad thing. Not all experts will have a flicker of admiration in their eyes. Of course, there are always some independent individuals who not only refuse to bow, but also look directly at each other. Of course not, I may want to show that I am neither humble nor arrogant, standing out among the crowd. As a newcomer, I'll teach you a lesson. You won't be charged. Deep Crow Een gave a miserable smile, her pupils turning into erect pupils. Then he pointed it out. Who? A faint green shade breeze brushed past. This class is called respecting teachers and emphasizing the way. Haha, go ahead. The deep crow smiled heartily, with black clouds covering its body and transforming into black crows, leading the group of crows to fly away. Everyone turned around and saw that the person had just turned into a green ice sculpture. When the wind blows, it turns into powder. End of this chapter.